Hey everybody, this is Sebastian back with another live session from California Street Cannabis Company here in San Francisco, California, right on the corner of California and Hyde. And today we have a really cool opportunity to speak with the awesome people at Legion of Bloom. Legion of Bloom is a collective of growers and farmers that make, in my humble opinion, some of the best, if not the best, California sauce pods, live resin cartridges, and their strain-specific PAX pods are absolutely delicious. If you've been to our store, it's more than likely that you've picked one up along the way. But one of the things I love about these guys the most is that, it says right on their website, founded by farmers, dedicated to you. The backstory of Legion of Bloom is really great. It is very community-driven. It is very reflective of the heritage of where all of this started, which is people coming together as a community to work together to create the best products that they can. So very excited to be speaking with you today. It's another live session that we have. I just saw Legion of Bloom joined us, so I'm going to go ahead and invite them to the chat. Once again, I'm Sebastian. I handle marketing and education and some buying for the store here at California Street Cannabis Company. And to us, education is everything. So thank you for joining us, and I'm going to welcome Legion of Bloom into this conversation. What's up, brother?
Sebastian, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. Good. It's great to see your face again.
Yeah, man, it's been too long.
It has been too long, but a lot has happened in the past. It's been a while, but I think it's only been like 3 months, which
I know.
this year seems like an eternity.
It seems like an entire year's gone by for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And I'm catching you right in the middle of harvest. I'm sure you got a lot of things going on. So thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah, man, no problem. My like you were saying before I came on, my focus is on marketing and education for the brand. So luckily we've got we've got some strong individuals that get to handle the relationships with our cultivation partners as well as holding it down at our indoor cultivation facility. So I am lucky enough to just be the content guy at this point, though. I've got almost 20 years in cultivation. It's really interesting to not completely, when I touch the plant now, it's to like hold it steady so I can get it in focus. So
Yeah. No, and that's huge. And I mean, just having that perspective when you actually are doing marketing and content. Because, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. About 90% of these cannabis brands out there are hiring people that have never even fucking smoked weed before. And it's pretty clear that that they haven't through their marketing and messaging. And that's one of the things that really stands out with you guys. You have a core group of 5 guys that started Legion of Bloom. And between you, you have over a half of a century of experience in cultivation, manufacturing, growing, working with the plant, all of it. And that's something to not be overlooked. When you actually have a team of people that are dedicated to this plant and understand the plant from soil to trim to packaging, it makes a real difference. And that's why, in my personal opinion, is why you guys have been successful and been consistent.
oh man, well, I appreciate you saying that. And for real, it's really about staying true to the culture of cannabis. Like I said before, I've got almost 20 years in cultivating before we started the brand. We've been going strong for about 5 years now, and it's been a lot of hoops to jump through. I can tell you the first 3 years was really about, let's stay as true to the culture as possible, but man, there's a lot of hoops to jump through here. So let's kind of get the flywheel spinning in a way that, we feel really comfortable and confident with where we are in the market. And I'm really excited. Hey, everyone joining. I'm really excited about 2021, to be honest with you. We've got a lot of really cool things that I've been working on behind the scenes that we're just really rolling out right now. So we just rolled out our environmental stewardship program. So we've basically we made a commitment to donate a portion of our sales to environmental issues in California. So when you purchase Monarch cartridges, we're going to donate a portion of that to saving the Monarch butterfly right here in California, working with local groups and local counties to kind of do some environmental stewardship. And then with the rest of our product lines, our PAX pod lines and our California sauce lines, we're working with One Tree Planted to plant trees. So when you buy those products, a portion of those sales are going to go to replanting trees in places affected by wildfires through a commitment that One Tree Planted has with CAL FIRE as well as the U.S. Forest Service. So these are programs I've been working on behind the scenes for, I'd say 6 months, but it's really just coming to fruition. And we've kind of rolled it around this transparency initiative we have with an anti-counterfeit solution called Solo Sciences. So on the back of our packaging, I wish I should have brought some of my packaging with me, but on the back of the packaging, there's these unique codes. And when you scan the code, that's going to give us the opportunity to donate for you. So when you scan as a consumer, we're going to give back to the environment. So that's something that I love creating amazing cannabis experiences for individuals that love cannabis as much as we do. But, for us, the 5 founders, we're really big in environmentalism, and we really wanted to use Legion as a vehicle to kind of make change. And I'm really excited because this is kind of the first step toward being a more sustainable company. We do a lot of things behind the scene to lower our environmental footprint, but this is something that we're doing to, really give back to the planet. So.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna, you just laid out a lot of really great information, and I want to break it down. So I mean, from the get-go, your Monarch cartridges, which are full spectrum or distillate?
Well, it's distillate mixed with full spectrum terpene extraction from cannabis. So,
And you use only cannabis terpenes.
Yeah, exactly. With the Monarch, it's 100% cannabis derived terpenes in a triple refined cannabis extract. So a high THC extraction with that strain specific entourage effect that come from the terpenes.
But from the get-go, you guys have been donating to preserve the monarch butterfly within that region. I mean, that wasn't a trend thing. I think that's been part of what you've been doing from the beginning with that product, right?
No, I mean, it's something that we just started initiating. We kind of named the product was named after that iconic species. It's a very it's a very California thing. And it's something that I've wanted to do since the beginning of the company. And it really came down to when we could make something like that happen. And that's what, 2021 is going to be all about, a lot of change. And we're able to kind of put this together in 2020. So
that's badass. And, so, and then also you have you're planting a tree. Just give me that one more time so that everyone can hear it. Every time you purchase a Legion of Bloom product, you guys are actually planting a tree. How is that working?
Yeah, so it kind of goes like this. With our California sauce products, we have a pod and a cartridge, and then with our strain-specific PAX pods, we'll use a portion of those sales to help fund different restoration projects with this organization called One Tree Planted. So it's not quite a one-for-one, one product buy doesn't quite purchase one tree, but every quarter, we're going to tally up the scans, and that's going to represent a specific amount that we're going to donate. We have, we have a set budget for donation. And so the idea here is we're really trying to get the consumer involved in verifying the Legion product with using the solo codes on the back. And then it really allows them to be a part of the giving with us and really try to build a community around that. I mean, I think, it's not going to resonate with everyone, but for people that really value this planet, we only have one home world. It's really important to us. And one really, the cool thing about doing something like this is when you're helping to do habitat restoration, it's not just about the pollinators or the butterflies. It's not just about the planting trees, but it's about creating carbon sinks. So as we replant the earth and we start putting, more plants into the environment in general, they're going to start sucking the carbon out of the atmosphere. So, as this, as we all deal with climate change, the big part of changing the climate is going to be, replanting the world we live in and trying to offset the damage we've already done. So,
and I think it's a really, really good call out, because a lot of times the people have this definition of cannabis culture as stoner culture, as weed smoking culture. I think when you and I talk about cannabis culture, it's earth culture. It's taking care of our planet. It's taking care of each other. And that to me is what real marijuana cannabis culture is about. It's a medicine, and it's regenerative, and it's healing. So it's almost reframing what, cannabis culture is. It isn't, a bunch of lazy people smoking weed on the couch. It's people working hard to regenerate, their soil and make a better footprint for what's to come. And I think that's just a really important call out, for people that are watching that, don't cultivator on the farm. You know, cannabis culture can be blunts and 40s and having rappers and musicians at your show or whatever. But to us, I feel like I can speak, and excuse me if I'm wrong, you know, cannabis culture is human culture and it's earth culture. And it's making sure that we're practicing what we preach and, you know, paying respect to the female divine plant that God or whoever you want to say has gifted us with. And those are two very different things.
Oh, 100. I mean, I think cannabis has its place in so many walks, right? Like, you know, you mentioned music, and music is really important to human tribalism, or,
Yep.
you know, humanity in general. Like, we all kind of, we're missing a lot of that in our life right now with everything going on in COVIDian times and the pandemic, and, you know, the ability to not really get together and experience each other through dance and through music. And with cannabis, it's definitely hurting. You know, it's hurting me, man. I love that, but I also
Yeah.
really appreciate, you know, being able to give back to the planet and really thinking about how my choices affect what the future what it's going to be like for future generations. And so, you know, like I said before, you know, we're founded by farmers, but ideally we wanted to kind of use Legion as a vehicle to help kind of educate and empower consumers to kind of make the right choice. And that originally started with, you know, really supporting a small batch, you know, Northern California based company that's really here to do the right thing. And then ultimately that's kind of growing into our ability to kind of give back to the planet. And, you know, another initiative that we're going to be rolling out in 2021, it's actually happening as we speak, but, you know, we're removing all the plastic out of all of our packaging, and we're moving to a packaging option that is made using made using wind power. It's made in the USA. It comes from
Wow.
FSC certified paper stock. So it's a real sustainable option, and it's, you know, kind of removing that glutton of plastic waste that just
Hmm.
is omnipresent in the cannabis space. So
Well, and that right there is you're clearly making decisions that's going to cost you a little bit more money. You know, at the end of the day, plastic is cheaper, but you guys are you're making a decision to, you know, put your ethos and your care for the planet above that. You know what I mean? So shout out to you for doing that, because there's already enough regulations and, you know, hoops to jump through with cannabis packaging. You know, for you to, you know, consciously make the decision, hey, I'm going to go, you know, towards recyclable, non-plastic. It's going to cost us a little bit more, but that's worth it to you as a group. That's worth it to you as people. And that's commendable. And I want to say, I mean, you're doing that is hopefully going to drive more people to make that decision.
that's, well, for me, it's what it's all about. Like, I don't mind being first. I don't mind being a first mover, but at the end of the day, I totally hope that we can be an example for people to kind of make the right decision. You know, it's been nice to actually be able to put sustainability as the first principle thinking funnel or
Yeah.
decision making funnel for our organization, and that's something that really started happening, you know, in 2020. And, you know, obviously with what's kind of happened with society in general, you know, we've had to take a hard look at, you know, what is the future going to look like, and what kind of planet do we want to create. And, you know, it can't always, it can't just be about the bottom line. And, you know, we're going to make decisions right now that really focus on how do we lower our environmental footprint? How do we, you know, give back to the planet? How do we do things the right way? Just like we've always created, you know, done the right thing when it comes to creating our products. Now it's like, how do we kind of take sustainability and throw that as the top of the funnel when it comes down to making decisions for not just the company, but for the planet itself. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I don't want to name any names, but there's plenty of products out there that are straight up lying about what's in their product for the sake of marketing and for the sake of sales. And there's a lot of conversation about that now. You can Google it if you're watching this, but you're not one of them. You guys from the get-go have always put, you know, honest marketing, you know, honest labeling and full transparency into the products that you're putting out there. You know, just reading from your site, you know, it says our mission is to produce the highest quality products using sustainable and conscious cultivation and extraction processes. And you've done that. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's probably 40 other websites that sell products that say they're the same as yours that use those words, and they're straight up lying. and that's hindering the industry. So once again, kudos to you for staying true to what your mission is, even though you're faced, and for people that aren't in this industry that are watching, you're faced with a lot of hard decisions sometimes about cost and cost of goods and where you're sourcing your product from and how you're going to distill things and how you're going to create your oils and your sauces. And I can double co-sign that Legion of Bloom is not straight away from that. And when you're smoking their products, it says on your site too, it's like you're not going to put anything out there you wouldn't put in your own body. And I think that's a very sound statement.
And I mean, that comes back to where we come from, like being a cultivator, coming from, we're a family of cultivators. We're a legion of cultivators. The 5 founders, myself included, when we came together, we really wanted to create products that we'd be proud to share with our friends and family and put into our own bodies. And we're avid users of our own products. It's kind of part of the reason why we all got together. We were all individual farmers, and back in 2016, when we kind of saw the way the regulations were going to be moving, we kind of got the band back together. It made sense for us to come together and kind of be one, as opposed to trying to be 5 individuals in what would ultimately become a crowded market. And here we are. It's a pretty crowded market out there, and for us, we're just trying to stay really true to our values, and we're not trying to be the best at anything, man. We're just trying to be really true to who we are and what we think is exceptional. And, we're really looking toward creating exceptional every single day. And we're willing to kind of make the hard decisions, and sometimes they're easy decisions. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool. And that kind of leads me into, the Legion of Bloom, right? You are a collective. You guys decided to work together. It wasn't how do I say this politely? It wasn't a who's got the biggest dick in the room conversation. It was, hey, like, let's all put our minds together and create a community and make it sustainable. So just give me a little bit about, like, the name Legion of Bloom and the relationships that you've built and where you're sourcing from.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, to start, our founding team, myself included, we're all still directors of departments in this organization, right? So we're not just like founding a company and then letting someone else run it and sitting back and having board meetings to like discuss what decisions we're going to make. Like, I run the marketing for the company. One of my founders is our chief procurement officer. One of my founders is still our CEO. We have one of our founders runs and leads the project in Oakland, a large sustainable indoor cultivation project that we have going on right now. And then one of my founders is an integral part of our sales team. So, we're operators as much as we're founders too. And when it comes down to our sourcing, we have a really strong partnership with a brand called Humboldt Trees. We also distribute for that brand as well. They do high quality, sun-grown greenhouse cannabis in Humboldt County. It's all estate grown. They've got about 2.5 acres of canopy. They're always expanding, but every bit of their product comes from their estate. They're a single origin farm, and we work with them really closely, not just to help distribute their product, but they also help to provide inputs for our terpene extraction that goes into our Monarch. And then from that, that same material is going to create our triple refined cannabis extract. That's kind of the backbone of that product line. So it's the terpenes and that extract kind of come together to create the Monarch cartridge. And then when it comes down to our indoor cultivation in Oakland, it's about an acre of indoor canopy. It's about 50% complete. It's still being built. So we're like working, let's just say I'll be really happy when all the contractors are gone. You know what I mean? So, and I'm there once a week, but the team there is super strong and the facility is really awesome. We're using mostly LED technology. We have a couple combination LED and CMH bulbs, these boulder lights that are really cool. But we buy all of our power from renewable resources. So it's also renewable, 100% California produced renewable energy. And then we also have a really cool water collection system at the cultivation facility that recaptures about 90% of the water that we use. So we only have to purchase about 10% of the water from the local municipality, and that has to do with the way we kind of design the system. So it's collecting all of the HVAC runoff, all the dehumidification runoff, the 10% that comes out the bottom of the plants, we collect that. And then we go through a process of kind of cleaning it and filtering it and then reusing it. So, just those two things, between the LED technology, the renewable energy, and the water catchment, we have a really, really cool model to create sustainable indoor cannabis. I mean, it's not as good. I mean, to me, the sun is kind of the ultimate source, but and that's where a lot of our sourcing goes right now. I mean, with a lot of the cannabis we're producing, a lot of it is wholesaled into other brands, and they use our indoor flower, and then we're also using that material to help produce some of our other product lines as well. So. That's a big part of our sourcing, and that's that project. I mean, to be honest with you and everyone watching, that's a 3-year commitment to get to just plants in the ground, and it hasn't been an easy road to get there either. So
there's a lot of there's a lot of legwork and mixing. I really appreciate your guys' adoption of technology that can make you more sustainable and renewable, but also your roots in sun grown and natural. And when you have the mix of the two, you can really achieve things that haven't been done before without forgetting about the heritage or the root of it. I think my boy got stuck up a little bit. Can you hear me on your end?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. I just got
awesome.
I think you're a little frozen, but that'll work itself out. So I wanted to break down for you because there's been a lot of conversation around what is live resin, what is your California sauce pod, and your strain specific POX pods. There's people that are flat out lying about live resin. I have a fairly good understanding of it. I've been in the oil industry for a long time. But if you could just kind of, give me an overall view of, what are your California sauce pods? What's the difference between the California sauce pods and the live resin cartridges? And then what is the difference between those and the strain specific PAX pods?
Cool. Yeah. So our California sauce product line, so this is going to be the cartridges and the pods. So it's an identical formulation. We're using HTE live resin, so it's a high terpene extraction live resin sauce that kind of works as the terpene element. So the way HTE is created, I can just I'll do the abridged version. So you create live resin, it's fresh frozen. It uses supercritical temperatures, so like around -20 degrees centigrade, and then that creates the live resin, and then through a mechanical separation process, so like a little bit of pressure and a small amount of heat, and then what happens is that THCA that's sitting in the live resin crystallizes out, and so you end up with what they call the diamonds. The diamonds crystallizes out, that's the THCA that's in the live resin, and then that separates from the terpene solution, and then the very, very liquidy terpene solution is what they call the sauce. And then we're taking that and we're actually combining it with our triple refined cannabis extract. So people will call that distillate. So we're taking a little bit of distillate and we're mixing it with our sauce. And what a lot of people, I think people like to try to bash distillate a little bit. And I think there's a pretty interesting misconception about what distillate is and what is in live resin. So live resin has a lot of THCA. That's where that's where most of the THC is coming from in live resin. And then if you look at like the chemical composition of distillate is pretty much just a very high concentration of THCA. So, you can take the diamonds and you can turn it into distillate. Basically, you can take residual plant matter and you can turn it into distillate. So we're kind of like, it's like so many ways to skin the cat here, but ultimately, what we're doing is we're taking a high terpene sauce, which is coming from fresh frozen live resin. So it's a very much a dab-like taste and feel. And then we're reintroducing THCA to build up the potency of the product line.
And I think that flash frozen aspect is a really big definer between the live resin and the other products.
Sure. 100%. So the sauce is that live resin. So you kind of have that like dab-like taste and feel. And then, to go back to the Monarch, we like to say the Monarch is like, it's like the convenience of a joint, at the push of a button. It's like tasting the flower without the flame. So like you kind of have like a cured cannabis experience with the Monarch. and then you also have like a live cannabis experience with the California sauce. And so, it's slightly different, but I can tell you, I mean, I get to sample a lot of different product, and sometimes, I mean, our Monarch tastes just as good as the sauce that's coming out, depending on who's extracted it and how great the material was when it went into extraction. And I think for us, it's always about sourcing and making sure that it's hitting that quality standard for us, where, we don't have a type 7, we're a type 6 extractor. So we can do, we can do our terpene extraction. We can do the high THCA extraction, the distillate extraction.
Nice.
And then we work with extract partners to create the sauce product for us. So, it's really about making sure that your extract partners are really dialed in, that they understand the quality standards that you need. And that's kind of, I think, what's always separated us, at least in the with the California sauce line, is just really being super particular and picky about the materials that go into the product. And then, we can transit, unless you want, is there anything else you'd like to talk about there?
Well, I just wanted to ask, do you have a specific extraction process you stick to for all products, or is it a mix of, do you mix around depending on what product you're making?
Yeah, so the formulation is still the same. We like to we're big fans of ethanol extractions for making distillate. It's the most sustainable way to do it. So you get a very high recapture rate for your solvent. So you get about 97, 98% of the ethanol back. And then, ethanol comes from distilling plants into alcohol. Whereas, even CO2 and butane and CO2 come usually is recaptured from they remethanize the gas. So it's basically coming from a petroleum gas extraction. So like a lot of people don't really understand that either. And so when you're thinking about like if you're thinking about the environment, like petroleum is probably one of the worst things on the planet. Extraction of petroleum is a pretty dirty thing, right? And so a lot of times people think CO2 is super clean, and it really is. And for the most part, there's two different ways to capture CO2. You can capture it from petroleum off gas through liquefying through like a remethylation extraction process, and then there's a way that you can take it through just anaerobic composting. But for the most part, when you're talking about like beer creates a lot of CO2, right? You can kind of capture that if you're doing like a fermentation. But for the most part, on an industrial scale, CO2 is produced as an off gas from petroleum extraction, and same with butane. Now, like that being said, like you can't make live resin without butane. It's like part of it, right? It's a mixture of iso, butane, and usually propane is like the three different gases and the three different solvents that are being used. So, we try to be, pretty mindful about what we're using, the ingredients we're using. Would love to get away from using butane completely in any kind of extraction, but you can't really do a supercritical extraction without either butane or CO2. And for the most part, butane creates the best live resin. So that's kind of where we sit there. So that's, that's the extraction process.
That a big part of that's because, the technology has been hindered because of the legality of all this for so long. I'm excited for the technology that'll be coming out now that people can research it more and dive into it more, now that it's a bit more legal. So the industry, everyone remember, the industry is fairly hindered still due to the legality of it being new. And that's part of it.
And I think there's some fun ways to use ethanol to make a similar live resin product. It's just not really, it really hasn't just come into fruition. I think most people are used to just using the ethanol to really work with cured material as opposed to fresh frozen material. So, and
Totally.
To go back to the ethanol, it's not under pressure, so it's a much safer extraction process as well. So, and then to talk about the strain specific PAX pods, and we've been pretty forward about this in our marketing and how we market the brand and how we market that product line is, we're using plant derived terpenes. So these aren't derived from cannabis. They're the same terpenes that you find in cannabis, but they are derived from other natural plant sources. We use over 40 different terpenes that are found in a specific strain. And what we're doing with our strain specific pods is with our strain specific terpene profiles is we're using a cannabis terpene extraction that we've done as a blueprint to craft the profiles that we use in our pods. So the concept there is, how do you create something very consistent for the consumer? And it's really hard to do that with cannabis. We like to grow different things. Our farmers like to grow different things. It's very hard to be super consistent. So with our strain specific PAX pods, we wanted to give, the consumer was something that was at an affordable price point that had the taste and the feeling of cannabis because of the numerous terpenes that we use, over 40 different terpenes that are specific representation or specific blueprint of a cannabis strain, and do that in a way that's super consistent. So that way people can get what they want when they like what they want. Like, I'm a big fan of our 10K jackpot. I love sativas. That allows people to find it very consistently. And that's kind of the big difference between our strain specific line and then our California sauce line and our Monarch line. They're much more seasonal items. The Monarch's a little bit more stable as far as the strains, but I mean, this year I think we've gone through like 25 different strains of the Monarch, right? Because there's just different stuff coming in, and it's different stuff coming out, and we have a terpene library that we're kind of moving through to kind of create the product. And the same with the California sauce as we source. I think we've done a dozen different strains since we launched it back at the Emerald Cup in 2019. That's where we won second place with that product line. So,
well, that leads me to my next call out. Legion of Bloom is the recipient of 10 industry awards. It's a pretty badass statement.
I mean, and they're all those are 10 first, second, or third place awards too. So
at Emerald Cup, give me a little bit about those awards. I want to shout it out.
Yeah, so we, last year at Emerald Cup, we had first place and third place in the distillate cartridge category with two different Monarch strains. It was the banjo that we did with Humboldt trees, and then it was that the material came from Humboldt trees for the terpene extraction, and then it was the sour tangy that came from our friends at Rich
good.
Tropical. Yeah, that
sour
was really good.
So good.
And then with the California sauce, we put the lemon cake out there, and that strain was second place in the live resin cartridge category. And then we've had a number of different awards at different high times, as well as we had a topical award at the Emerald Cup 2 years ago in 2016, and then we also had a number of first, second, third place cartridges in 2016, 2017 at a handful of different high times events. We were also awarded best in 2017. We were best vape brand by SF Weekly, and that's kind of a People's Choice Awards,
which is awesome.
And like, I can tell you, when the individual contacted me from SF Weekly and told me the news, like, I had no idea. Like, we weren't marketing or campaigning or being like, hey, vote for us. It was literally, I got an email.
That's the people.
Yeah, people were really stoked with the product at that time, and I think we were doing something really unique, and it definitely set us apart from a lot of the competition back then. So
that's
badass. And I love the awards are great, but I think it really, for us, it just has always come back to the people and the culture, and we're always trying to kind of be true to where we're from, which is Northern California, and try to pay homage to a culture that's been here since the 50s and 60s. Man, people have been growing cannabis in California. Some people would call us old school, but I like to say we're just kind of middle school and just carrying the torch a little bit. There's still so many amazing cultivators in Humboldt and County.
I'm from Chico, California, Paradise area, and my dad's a heritage grower. I mean, he's 75 years old, and there's a lot of people that have that deserve some love, that deserve some respect, and deserve some shout outs that their names will never really be heard, but they've done a lot for this plant to be able to be accessible for people. And you guys are doing a great job at representing the culture, and your products are top shelf. That's why we've been carrying them since day one.
Definitely appreciate that.
So thank you for doing what you're doing. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but if you were in the store or if you were talking to a customer, what would be the three things you'd want them to know or walk away with knowing about Legion of Bloom?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we said it in the very beginning, we're founded by farmers. So, the organization comes from a very high cannabis background, right? We all know a lot about the plant. And for us, that would be number one is, Legion of Bloom, we're founded by farmers. Number two would be that you know, we're trying to create products that we would share with our friends and family first and foremost. So you're not going to find adulterants. You're not going to find additives or fillers. I mean, it's cannabis extract and terpenes. That's what you get when you buy Legion of Bloom products. And then, you know, number 3 is, you know, we really do care about the environment. We really do care about our practices. And, you know, we're trying to have as minimal, you know, footprint as possible on this planet. And a lot that has to do with a lot of the things we talked about kind of in the beginning of this episode, as well as kind of our environmental stewardship program and the things we're doing to give back to the planet, you know, as well as transitioning away from using single-use plastic in our packaging. And, you know, if you want to learn more about what we're doing to give back to the planet, how you can help, you know, the legionofbloom.com, there's a banner at the top. It'll take you to a blog post that I wrote that kind of lays it all out for everybody. And love for everyone here. If you guys are fans of Legion, to, you know, get involved with helping us give back to the planet. We're trying to save the monarch butterfly, and we're trying to replant trees in wildfire affected areas in California. So
yeah, badass. And I can't say too much on it on this platform, but definitely, if you like deals on cannabis, sign up for our newsletter. We run one every week with Legion of Bloom. And tomorrow for Veterans Day, if anyone here that's watching is a veteran, we're doing 50% off the entire store if you bring in your military ID, any product. So yeah, you know, more compassion, more life. That's the way I see it. And once again, thank you for the time. You guys are you know, you're a role model for how brands should be acting, and I hope that what you're doing is people are paying attention to, and you know, I hope they start replicating you, because it's the highest form of flattery. You know,
100%.
So I appreciate you, man. Keep growing amazing products, and we will be having this conversation again soon.
Yeah, man, Sebastian, thank you for the time today, sir. Appreciate it.
Cheers, brother. Have a good day,
man.
everybody.
Thanks for joining, y'all.
Cheers.